Hey, I am so excited to be sharing with you guys. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be sharing with you. And like Pastor Aaron said, if I haven't got a chance to meet you yet, my name is Devin, and I am the student pastor here. And we're going to be wrapping up our series, Give Till It Heals. Can you turn to a neighbor and say, neighbor? All right, listen, we got to do better, right? I'm used to talking to students. I'm used to, excitement and fun. So, let's turn to our neighbor, look him right in the eye. Come on, do it right now. Come on, I know it's awkward, but do it. Say, neighbor, give till it heals. Yeah, that's so much better, so much better. So where Pastor Aaron has been over the last few weeks, like he said, he talked about tithing and offerings and then living generously. And through that series, he's been talking about when we do that, it heals certain things in our life. Like tithing, it heals our pride, and sowing heals our poverty, and then generous living, it heals our greed, right? And so he's been talking about that. And so today, we're going to be wrapping up that series. But we're going to be talking about something different that we sow, not just our finances, but something different. At the beginning of the year, if you remember, Pastor Aaron did a series called Heart for His House. And he talked about how do we have a heart for His house? Like how do we live like a place where our heart is just for the house of God, right? And he said we do it through our time, our treasure, and our talents, right? And so the first week, the first kind of time, he's talked about our time. And it was all about groups. Hey, get involved in a group. Hey, give your time, be a part of a group. And then the last few weeks, it was about our talents, right? And so, or about our treasure, sorry. And so that was about giving. But today, we're going to be wrapping up with our talents, right? And so before we start, when I start talking about talents and I start talking about serving and giving of those things, I want to kind of clarify something, get all of us on the same page. Because if we're not careful, some of us will think this: I'm serving today. I don't need to hear this. I'm good, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to hear it. I'm serving all the time, but my passion has kind of died down. You need to hear it. I'm not serving at all. I'm watching online right now, and I just sit and I watch and I enjoy church. I come, I sit, I leave. I come, I sit, I leave. You need to hear it too. All of us need to hear this, myself included, because serving and giving of our talents, right, is not just because hey, we need some help. It's because God has called us to do this. He has picked you and He's picked me to be a part of this thing, and He wants to move through us. And so this morning, we're going to be talking about that. If you have a Bible, we're going to be in the book of Nehemiah. So if you want to turn somewhere, we're going to be in the book of Nehemiah. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. You don't have to cheat off your friend or anything. It'll be on the screen here. But if your Bible glows, I'm reading out of the New Living Translation. So on your app, it's the NLT version. And it says this. It says that Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, right, and the rest of our enemies found out that I had finished rebuilding the wall and that no gaps remained, though we had not yet set up the doors in the gates. So Sanballat and Geshem, they sent a message to asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono, but I realized they were plotting to harm me. So I replied by sending this message: I am engaged in a great work and I can't come. Why should I stop working and come and meet you? 4 times they sent the same message, and each time I gave them the same reply. The 5th time, Sanballat's servant came, and he opened a letter in his hand. And he said, this is what it said. This is a rumor among the surrounding nations, and Geshem, he tells me that is true. He says that you and the Jews are planning to rebel, and that is why you are building this wall. According to his reports, you plan to be their king. He also reports that you have appointed prophets in Jerusalem to proclaim, look, this is the king of Judah. You can be very sure that this report will get back to the king. And so I suggest that you come and talk with me right now. Next verse says, so I replied, there's no truth in any part of your story. You're making this whole thing up. They were just trying to intimidate us, imagining that they could discourage us and stop the work. So I continued the work with even greater determination. If you're taking notes this morning, and I encourage you to, because we have a saying at 110 that's note takers are history makers, right? Because it's one thing to sit and listen or watch and listen, but when you take notes, it helps you remember it. It helps you apply it, right? Because James, the book of James tells us that if we just hear the word but don't apply the word, it does us no good, right? And so when we write it down, it helps us. And so you can write this at the top of your page: I won't come down. I won't come down. Can we pray? God, I thank you so much for who you are. God, I think that you're going to speak to us today, that as we open your word, God, I pray that you speak to us, that you do something brand new in our hearts. God, I pray that we leave changed, that we leave different. God, I pray over the next few moments, I decrease and that you increase. God, thank you for the honor and the ability to preach this morning. God, I thank that you speak through me. And God, thank you for Pastor Aaron. Thank you that as he shares at Hope Life, God, you preach through him. God, I pray that church is never going to be the same, that you speak into that church, that Pastor Aaron leaves that church differently than the way he saw them when he first walked in this morning. God, thank you so much for what you're doing here today. In Jesus' name I pray, amen, amen. So when we first did the remodel here, over in the youth building, there's some TVs that we hung up. And when we went to hang them up, they had to go into a steel beam, right? And so, I'm okay with tools. Like Tasha would tell you, no, I'm not. But I'm whatever, don't judge me. And so I'm on this ladder trying to drill into a steel beam, right? And so Will, a lot of you guys know Will's there with me. And Will's watching me work, right? Yeah. So Will's watching me work. Yeah, shocker, I know, right? I can't imagine that happening. And so he's down here, and I'm on the ladder drilling into this steel beam, and it's not really going the way I want it to go. And Will just keeps saying, why don't you just come down and let me do it? I'm like, Will, why don't you get your own ladder and come on up here and help me? Because, just don't watch and tell me how to do it. But, I'm just trying, and I'm breaking out drill bits. It just wasn't a good experience. And so finally, after, the 50th time of Will saying, hey, why don't you come down? I'm like, fine, here, Will. I come down thinking there's no possible way Will can do this because I just couldn't do it. Will gets up in 2 minutes, has the bracket hung. I'm like, yes, that's my life. I'm so good at this. This makes me feel great, I'm sure he had some funny comment to make about it because you know how Will is. And it's just funny, though, because, when I realize that, when I don't do my job, someone else has to do more. You know what I'm saying? When I come down off the ladder, Will had to go up. Will could have been doing 1,000 things, right? But he had to wait and help me. And in context, that's kind of what's happening in this text. See, there's this guy named Nehemiah, and he's building the walls around this city called Jerusalem. Now, there's been no walls for nearly 400 years. Now, for us, we're like, walls, who cares? No, it's a big deal. Because back then, without walls, you had no protection, right? Why would you want to live in a place without protection, right? And so, it was a big deal. It's kind of what made a city was having walls. And there was no walls. And so God had called Nehemiah. He said, Nehemiah, I want you to go rebuild these walls. So Nehemiah gets there, and he starts this work. And he starts working on the walls. And all of a sudden, there's enemies who don't like what he's doing. Because, side note, anytime you do something significant for God, you're going to have critics. You're going to have people who say, you can't do that. What do you think you're doing, building a wall? You really think God can call you to, be that kind of mom? You didn't even have a good mom. Wait, God's calling you to give? No, you don't need to do that. And, you're always going to have critics when you're doing something significant for God. And so here is Nehemiah building a wall. And these enemies, they come, and 3 different times they come, and they make fun of the construction. They're like, hey, if a fox stands on that thing is going to fall. That's smack talk for the Bible. It's yeah, that's crazy. And then he's like, not just that, we're going to come attack you right now. So Nehemiah's like, fine, we'll work with one hand and hold a sword with the other. Come at us, bro, right? And do our thing. So here they are. And then finally this text. They show up and they say, hey, you need to come down and meet us at this place called Ono. Hey, come down, meet us at this place. Stop your work and do this thing, right? And if you're taking notes today, we're going to talk about that kind of concept. 3 things that keep us stuck in Ono. 3 things that keep us stuck in Ono. Now, just up front, these 3 things, I'm going to talk about serving. Talk about giving of our talents, giving of our time and pouring into the church that God has called us to be a part of. We're going to talk about that. But I want to let you know that these 3 things also keep you stuck and me stuck in every area of our life. It's not just serving. Now, we're going to have a serving push this morning, but in your mind, keep, hey, if I'm stuck because I feel like my level of believing has been stuck, it's probably one of these 3 things. My level of trusting in God is stuck, probably one of these 3 things. And so we're going to talk about this idea of oh no, I'm not serving. I'm not serving like I used to be. I used to be a great server, but found myself in oh no. Oh man, can you just turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, don't go to oh no. Now listen, some of y'all are gonna be like, I don't really wanna talk to my neighbor. Find a new neighbor. Like, I mean, we're gonna talk, we're gonna communicate, we're gonna like do this thing together, right? And so like here we are, like being stuck in no. If you're writing notes, you can write this down. This is the first thing that keeps us stuck. It's the community that we keep. The first thing that keeps us stuck in this idea of not serving or an idea of just stuck in general, it is the community that we keep. Right? And so in this text, Nehemiah is working and he's up on the wall building, and here comes these guys again. You know those guys, the people you ignore in the store. You see them, you're like, I can't talk to them. Don't look at me like it's just me. And so like those people, they walk in, and Nehemiah looks at them and he's like, oh, here you are again. Because it really is true that the people in your life are who you will become. That who's in your life, it's going to be who you become. And this is why we push so hard, be in a group, be in a group, be in a group. Why? Because we want group numbers to be high? No, because we want your life to be good. And we want your life to say, hey, I want to prosper. I want to move forward. I want to do this thing right. I need the right people in my life. I need people who can look at me and say, Phil, are you okay? And not yeah, I'm good. All right, cool. No. Are you okay? Are you really okay? Hey, I noticed you've not been serving like you have been. I noticed like you're not like worshiping like you have been. We need people in our life who have access to us. Or we need to have the right community, because if not, they'll look at you and be like, you don't need to serve. You like did this thing. You like helped build this church over the summer. You can just take a break. You don't have to do this. And if we're not careful, the people in our lives will have voices that they shouldn't have, and we'll find ourselves stuck in oh no. But maybe it's not necessarily the people, right? Because people are important. But let's be honest, the worst community is right here in our brain. The community that we keep is always about the story we're telling ourselves. The story you're telling yourself right now. The reason you're saying, I can't serve, I don't want to hear about serving, I have this, and I have this, I have this. I'm going to ask my friend David to come join me. Yeah. David's response was, I knew it. And so, I think a lot of us, right, are like David. We come into church. I don't know why y'all are laughing right now. I mean, but like, we come into church, right, and we're like, oh yeah, like, I love this place. It's awesome. And maybe you get involved. David, can you get on that ladder for me? Thanks. Thanks. You might want to make sure it's good and solid, because, it could be a good fall. So, yeah, go up one more step if you will. Thanks. And so here we are. This is us. We're serving in the church. We're doing our thing well, right? We're living life to its fullest. And all of a sudden, the thought creeps into your mind, I don't really bring anything to the table. I can't serve now. Like, what talent do I have? And we come down a step. And we find ourselves not as high as we probably could be. And we find ourselves saying, I'm not like that good of a musician. I really don't know if I really like people enough to greet at the door. I don't bring anything to the table, right? But check out Ephesians Chapter 4, verse 16. It says this. It says, for his body, we're talking about the church here, has been formed in his image. Whose image? Jesus' image. So the church has been formed in the image of Jesus and is closely joined together and constantly connected as one. Now here's the important part. Every member has been given gifts to contribute to the growth of all. Every member has been given gifts to contribute to the gifts to the benefit of all, and all these gifts operate efficiently throughout the whole body, the whole church, and we are built up and made perfect in love. What this tells me is if you are hearing the voice that says, hey, they don't need me, you're wrong. Because your growth relies on my growth. My growth relies on your growth. We're in this thing together. If you're not serving, there's a gap that only you can fill. Right? Or maybe it's the thought that says, I'll serve whenever they ask me to serve. If they ask me, I'll do it. I'll serve more if they ask me. I'll serve for the first time if they ask me. Can I just tell you that if God trusted you with the gift, if God trusted you with the gift, who are you to say, I'm not going to serve? Who am I to say I'm not going to serve? If God put it inside of you and said, hey, I trust you with this. I want you to own this thing. I want you to serve like this. Who are we to let the community of our brain to tell us, I'll serve when they ask me? But yet, we often find ourselves like that. David, you can come down another step, and here we are coming down from where God's called us to do. Coming down from where God's called us to live. Or maybe this one, they don't need me. They're fine without me. They're fine without me. I can play guitar, yeah. Those guys are really good. They don't need me. Oh, I love people. But the people at the doors, they're awesome. They don't need me. They don't need me. You know, in 1 Corinthians, it tells us that the church is a body, and that if you're an ear and I'm an eye, we have to do this thing together. Because if we're all ears, what kind of body is that? What does that help? That doesn't help do anything, right? We need every single person, every single part. Everyone has a part to play. And if you don't feel it, right, if you don't feel your part as an eye, then an ear has to do it, and we wonder why we're struggling. Because only you can fill that part. I don't sing like Pastor Mitch. Good, we don't need another Pastor Mitch. We need you. We need you. No, not your neighbor. We need you. We need you to serve. We need your gift. We need your calling. That is what it is. Or maybe it's the community that's this. It's the community that says, hey, the thought that says, you know, if we had more people, I wouldn't have to do as much. Yeah. David, can you come off the ladder again? Come down one more step. Yeah, and so then we're like this. And slowly but surely, slowly but surely, we find ourselves over here, looking at the call of God, looking at what God's asked us to build, looking at what God's asked us to do. But if we have more people, I don't have to do as much. Can I just tell you something? Don't go anywhere, David. Can I just tell you something? And like, if that's your thought process, I say this really kindly, you're wrong. Because I want you to write this down. More people serving is never about you doing less. It is about reaching more people. It's never about you doing less because we have more people on the team. It's about reaching more people for Jesus. It's about doing this thing the way we're supposed to be doing it. Because here's the truth, that if we have more people serving, you know what that means? We have more people coming to our church. If we have more people coming to our church, we have more people getting saved. If we have more people getting saved, we have more people becoming disciples. If we have more disciples, we have more people serving. And it's a thing that goes over and over and over again. But if you're like, oh, we have more people, I can slack off and look at it, then you stop the process. You stop the process, not God, you. Because now we have to wait for someone else to fill that spot to get the process going again. But like in the story of Nehemiah in verse 2, they're going to put this on the screen, Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 2. Sorry, guys. Can we thank the production team for how awesome they are? Can we just thank them? They're so good. So Sanballat and Geshem, they sent a message asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono. And can I tell you, there are thoughts in your life and in my life that are challenging you to come down the ladder and meet you at Ono. And can I tell you, stop making time for them. Stop letting them have a voice in your life. Stop letting them distract you from the call of God on your life. Look at what verse 8 says. They're going to jump to verse 8. It says this, that all of a sudden, I replied, this is Nehemiah talking, there is no truth in any part of your story. You are making this whole thing up. Next verse says, they were just trying to intimidate us, imagining that they could discourage us and stop the work. So I continued the work with even greater determination. Can I tell you that when you feel like this, our job is not to go further away. Our job is to step. Come on, David. Our job is to step. Our job is to say, hey, I know that I think that they're good without me, but they need me. Not in an arrogant way, but in a way where God's calling me. And I have a purpose here. I have a plan here. Like, God told me to be at this church. Okay, I need to serve here. Oh, hey, like I can play guitar. I might not be as good as them, but guess what? Like I'm going to ask if I can use my talent to help Pastor Mitch. I'm going to take a step. All right, I love people. I love people so much. I love to talk to people. Like maybe I'll be on the connections team and greet someone. Go ahead and take a step. And if we work with more and more determination, all of a sudden we find ourselves up on the ladder doing what God called us to do because we're not ignoring the call of God on our life. And what's crazy is that so many of us find ourselves somewhere in this space. We know we're supposed to serve, but the community in our head. But we're supposed to do this thing right, but I don't know what to do. And can I tell you, if the community in your head is talking, let Jesus talk louder. Let Jesus speak louder. Let his words talk more, right? If you need more time with Jesus, you need more worship music in your car, you need something, do it. Do whatever it takes to be on the ladder, doing what God has called you and asked you to do. Thank you, David. And so, what happens in our life so many times, thank you. What happens so many times in our life, the community of thoughts in our head, the community that we keep, it keeps us stuck in oh no. It keeps us stuck in a place where we're kind of serving. Maybe we are on the ladder, but our attitude's down here. Maybe we are on the ladder, but our thoughts, our irritations, our frustrations are down there. And now we're torn, right? But it's not just the community that we keep, but the second thing that keeps us stuck in oh no is the complacency of culture. So it's the community that we keep, and it's the complacency of our culture. I love that this text took place when Nehemiah was finished with the walls, but not done with the doors. I love it because so many of us, we get to a place where the walls are built. We've done our part, but the doors aren't completed. The job is not done, and we make an excuse. How easy would it have been for Nehemiah to say, guys, we did a great job. We crushed this out. We're doing an awesome job. You guys did amazing. Let's go to Chick-fil-A. And then we go to Chick-fil-A and we're like, Starbucks? Cool. And then we find ourselves, we'll do the doors tomorrow. We'll do them later. Hey, Monday morning, we'll be right there to do them. And if we are not careful, what will happen is the complacency of culture will find its way into our church. The idea that says, I'll do it later. I'll serve tomorrow. Hey, I'll serve when life gets back to normal. When life gets back to normal, I'll do this thing again. And if we're not careful, the culture that says, do it when you feel like, will sneak its way into the church, and we'll have a whole bunch of people, myself included, who are like, I'll do it when I feel like it. I'll serve when I want to. Right? It's kind of inconvenient for me to serve. Right? I have to come earlier. I have to stay a little bit later. So I'll just do it. I'll just do it later. And so if we're not careful, the complacency of life, right? Just life. Because let's be honest, life is hard. Let's be honest. Life is hard. Life is busy. And if we're not careful, what will happen is life being hard will make us say, I'll give to the church when life is easier. I'll serve in the church when my kids go to college. I'll serve in the church when I don't have all this anxiety that I'm struggling with. I'll serve in the church when life just is not this difficult. When I'm not this busy. Let's be honest. Hey, the complacency of COVID. Now, I'm not saying COVID as a sickness, but COVID as what changed our normal, right? Because just be real, that's what happened. COVID changed our normal. It made everything so different. It made everything in a place where we were meeting for church, we were having church, and all of a sudden, no church. Church online, right? And then we get to a place where I'm here in church, but I'm not serving like I used to. Because our normal was changed. And we tell ourselves, when things get back to normal, I'll serve. What if things never get back to normal? What if it's a new normal? Is this the life you want to live? No, I want to follow after God. I don't want complacency to keep me stuck. I don't care what normal we're living in. I'm going to follow after Jesus, and I'm going to serve, and I'm going to follow him. I'm going to do what he asked me to do. But what about this? The complacency of simply serving, where you serve, and you serve, and you serve, and you're like, I did my part. I built the walls. The gates are not my job. I did it. I did this thing. I was here all summer long. I tore out walls. I painted. I did all this thing. Like, the serving part on a Sunday morning, that's someone else's job. Like, the complacency of simply just serving and living a life of serving. And I want you to know this. We cannot let serving become so common to us that it takes us off the ladder. We can't let serving become so common and just kind of what we do. We just come in, we serve, we leave. We can't let that become just what we do. It has to be who God has called us to be, right? That's our life that God has called you and he's called me to live. Is this life that said, I'm not going to let serving become so common that I simply just get into a place where I kind of like half do it. I half serve. But like, I think one thing that's important to know about serving, because if we're not careful, we'll talk about serving and we'll think, I'm going to serve in the church. But then when we leave the walls of the church, we don't live a life that serves. And can I tell you, serving was never meant to stay in these four walls. It was never meant for that. God doesn't call you to serve just in the church. God calls you to serve everywhere you go. That, the cart, when you go to Food Line and you grab your cart, right? Yeah, you know where I'm going. Do you put it back? Or you just leave it? Because a servant, hey, I'm going to serve and I'm going to put this back. Yeah. Or like you walk into a store and there's trash on the ground. Do you step over it? Do I pick it up? It's not my trash. I'm not picking it up. That's dirty. Well, Jesus died on the cross. I think you can pick up trash. I'm talking to myself too, because sometimes I step over it and I'm like, whatever. And I see it, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And like, what I think is so important for us to know is that serving was never meant to stay here, because we learn how to serve in the church so we can live as a servant outside of the church. We live outside. We learn how to do it the right way in the church, so that way we can live it out there. The other day, we have this neighbor. She's awesome, but like, she doesn't really talk to us that much, and super cool lady, but like Tasha and I were really praying just to have like an opportunity to talk to her more. Because like all of our other neighbors, they like come over, they like welcomed us to the place. They're like so awesome. They come over now, they just show up at our door, and like, it's just like, they're awesome. This one lady, she kind of keeps by herself. We found out that her husband had passed away a few years ago, and she only has this dog that's like 15 years old. It's just her and her dog. And one morning, it's a Friday morning, it's my day off, and I get up, I go outside, it's cold, it's snowing a lot, right? And she's outside, which she is never outside. And she's like, I can't find my dog. Okay, everything inside of me was like, this is my day off. Listen, time out. Y'all laugh at me, but if you were in my shoes, you might be thinking it right now, Sunday's my day off. Oh yeah, now who's laughing, right? You're like, Sunday's my day off. Yeah, well, it was my day off, right? And so I'm like, it's cold, it's snowing. And then God spoke to me and he said, you wanted a door, here it is. And can I tell you, what if the thing you've been praying to see happen in your life is waiting on you to serve like Jesus? What if that healing that you've been asking God, hey, God, I need you to heal me, is waiting for you to serve so you can walk through the door? What if your financial breakthrough is not waiting on anything? I've gave and I'm not seeing it. What if God's like, you never gave of your talent? You never simply said, I'm going to make time and I'm going to serve. What if your breakthrough is on the other side of your serving? Right? Think about that. And so here I am with this, I'm like, hey, let me go like put on a hoodie and I'll go find your dog. And so I come in and I tell Tasha, I'm like, hey, her dog's missing. And she's like, we'll go find it. And so like, I'm marching through my yard with tracks. I'm walking through water that's freezing cold, and I can't find this dog anywhere. And I was like, this is how I spent my day off. And like, I was a little frustrated because I felt like if I would have found the dog, I would have been like, this is awesome. And sometimes that's how serving feels. It feels like, I thought it was going to be awesome to climb that ladder. And sometimes you feel like they didn't even say thank you. Like, what? Like, I've served, and I've served, and I've served, and wait, this is not how I thought it was going to feel. It's not about how we feel. It's about what God's called us to do. And so I'm looking for this dog. I can't find her. And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to go inside for a little bit. Her daughter shows up. They look for the dog some. Eventually, they find the dog. Story's over, right? Like a couple of days go by. And I'm here at practice, back there in the booth. The band's up here practicing. And I get this text from a number I don't know. And it's my neighbor. And she's like, hey, I just want to thank you so much for helping me look for my dog. And she said, I'm so glad that we're neighbors. And for her, that's incredible because she's never said, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Hey, I'm so glad you're here, right? And for her to say that, I was like, that's the door that I've been waiting on. That's it. Like that's the door. And can I tell you, the door might look different, but serving is the key. Serving gets you through it. Right? Laying your life down and saying, I'm going to serve, I'm going to follow after Jesus, that is what opens the door. Pastor Devin, how does this apply to my life? I'm not looking for lost dogs. Yeah, but what if you have a bad boss? What if you have a bad boss who looks at you and they tear you down and you're like, I just want to quit my job, but you know God's called you to work there. Maybe serving is the key that opens the door to a promotion that gets you out of that boss and you get to be a better boss. Maybe, okay, I have a bad teacher. All right, well, you have a few months left. Serve your teacher. Do everything that you can to help your teacher make life better, right? Hey, my parents, they just don't ever get off my back. We struggle, we fight, we argue. I'm here in church today without my parents. I live under their roof. I drive myself to church. I'm here in church. They don't come to church. Hey, this is your opportunity to serve your parents. This is your opportunity to say, I'm going to take the trash out with them asking me. I'm going to do the dishes without them asking me. I'm going to serve. Is it easy? No. Is it what you want to do? No. But it will open doors that only God can open in your life. That's what it will do. It will open doors that only God can open. By saying, I'm going to serve. I'm going to pour out, right? And then maybe complacency is where you find yourself at. That's what's got you stuck in oh no. Because Nehemiah could have come down. He could have been like, yeah, we're halfway done. We're halfway there. Listen, if you're older in here, your job is not done. It's halfway done. Don't quit. Don't be like, I'm like, this old, I can't serve anymore. No, if you're still here and you have breath in your lungs, you have serving, right? And you got to do it. God's asking you to do it. Don't quit. Don't stop. If you're in here and you're 13 years old and you're like, I don't really want to serve. Too bad, serve, right? Like I'm just telling you right now, like serve. Like, do this thing, right? Like, we want to do this thing together. And Nehemiah, he's like, hey, I'm not going to let complacency pull me down. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let complacency of almost done get me stuck right here. I'm not going to go to oh no. But, like, if we're honest, I don't think it's just that. Like, it's the community that we keep, right? It is the complacency of culture. And then the third thing is this. It's the comfort that we cling to. That's what keeps us stuck. That's what keeps us maybe not serving like we should, serving like we should with the wrong attitude, something like that, or not serving at all, right? It's the community in our lives, right? Not just the community, but it's the complacency of our culture. And then it's the comfort that we cling to. I can imagine Nehemiah. It would have been so uncomfortable to build those walls. I mean, think about it. Like, when we read the Bible, like, I'm guilty of this. I'll read the Bible, and I'm like, oh, that's a cute little story. This is someone's life. This is what they lived. It would have been hot. It would have been miserable. You've been working for weeks trying to get this done. I'm trying to get this done. I'm trying to get this done. You have enemies coming at you saying, I'm going to come attack you. You're worried about your life. You're worried about what you've built. You've worried about what you've invested into. And here we are on this wall, so uncomfortable. Like anything, any excuse to come down. If I was Nehemiah, I would have come down. I would have been like, no, this is not comfortable. But the truth is, I'm so glad Nehemiah didn't. I'm so glad he finished the walls because it painted this picture for you and it painted this picture for me that we cannot say, I'm going to put my comfort over my calling. I'm going to do this thing the way God asked me to do. I'm going to do it to its end. I'm going to serve all the way, the best way. I'm going to finish the wall. And here's the truth. As Christians, we are not called to be comfortable. We're called to be fruitful. That's what we're called to do. That's what you're called to do. That's what I'm called to do. We're not called to be comfortable in life, right? If you're in this thing for comfort, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. Jesus is not asking us to be comfortable. He's asking us to be fruitful. He's asking us, hey, I want you to invest into something. Invest into something that is bigger than you, into the local church, part of Jesus' body. Hey, invest into this thing. Because when you invest into it, you know what happens? Some things come into your life, like peace. Maybe the peace that you're longing for is simply on the other side of you opening a door for someone, serving, right? Hey, I'm going to be fruitful. I'm going to be fruitful by saying I'm going to serve. What about this? Patience. Because we can be real in here, serving with other people sometimes can get frustrating. I mean, it's just true, right? I mean, we're all human, right? It can be frustrating. But what I know is that when we serve, and we serve with the right attitude, it allows God to do something in us that can only be done in us when we serve. It produces fruit like patience and peace and kindness. It does things that only God could do. And I think that as I'm reading this text and as I'm reading Nehemiah, it reminded me of something. It reminded me that Jesus said, I will build my church. You know, if you're not familiar, if you're unfamiliar with that, Jesus would later say, hey, I'm going to build my church. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it through you. I'm going to do it through you and through me. Right? Jesus doesn't come down and say, let me set up that microphone. Let me open that door. No, he does it through you and he does it through me. Jesus will always build his church, but he will build it through people who are willing to simply get uncomfortable and serve. That's what it is. He will build his church. And we cannot be people who are like, build this church, grow it, bring him in, call him in. But sit here and say, I'm not going to serve. Because he will build the church that we want to see, the church that reaches more people, the church that has helped your life and has helped my life. He will build the church through people who simply say, I will get uncomfortable and I will serve. I'm not a people person, but I'm going to serve. It makes me really nervous to step out because it's kind of scary, but I'm going to do it anyway. I got burnt in my last church. I really don't want to know if I want to be a part of this church. Hey, I'm going to step out and I'm going to serve anyway. Right? I have a lot going on right now. Kids are going crazy. The wife's going crazy. Dog's going crazy. Life is going crazy. And I don't know if I really want to serve. I'm going to serve. I'm going to get uncomfortable and I'm going to serve. I'm going to lay my life down and I'm going to be like Jesus. I'm not going to stay stuck in oh no. And I think that a lot of us, we're in this part of life a lot like Nehemiah. In Nehemiah, in verse 2, they're going to put this on the screen in verse 2. It says, so Sanballat and Geshem, he sent a message to me asking me to meet them at the village in the plain of Ono. But I realized they were plotting to harm me, right? And so I replied, I'm engaged in a great work. I can't come. I'm engaged in a great work. And it reminded me, like, I can imagine Nehemiah, like, you know what I mean, like being up on the wall and he's living his life like up here and he's just building and climbing and doing his thing. I can imagine it like working and serving and doing this over and over and over, opening another door and another door and another door, right? Teaching kids who don't seem like they're listening over and over and over. Do you ever get it? Over. And I'm trying harder and harder and harder. And like Nehemiah, the excuses come, the community comes. Hey, do you want to come down? No, I'm engaged in something really big. Hey, all of a sudden, here comes complacency. You're almost done. I'm actually a part of something bigger than me. All of a sudden, here comes something else. Comfort. Man, it's not comfortable to stand up here. David, it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to be like this. But Nehemiah said, I'm engaged in a great work. And it reminded me of a verse in Mark. Can you guys put that on the screen for me? It reminded me of this verse. It said, this is when Jesus is hanging on the cross. The people went by and they shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. And they said, look at you now. You said you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Save yourself. Come down. And just like Nehemiah, Jesus was tempted to come down. To throw in serving. I don't want to serve anymore. I don't want to serve humanity. This is too hard. There's going to be people who literally talk to me like this. I can just come down. I can go back to heaven. I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to die. I can just be right here. I can come down. And Jesus said he had to make his choice. Would I cling to comfort or would I cling to my calling? Because the truth is, yes, Jesus was all God, but he was all man too. And before he came up, he prayed, is there any other way? And maybe that's your prayer right now. Is there any other way to see that door open? Is there any other way? God, like, I've done everything. Is there any other way? If there's not, this is what Jesus said, if there's not, your will be done. I'll follow after you. And can I tell you, if you don't get anything else, I want you to get this. Because Jesus stayed up, I won't come down. Because Jesus stayed on this cross. Because Jesus said, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to call it quits. I'm not going to walk away from serving, because what Jesus was doing was laying down his life. He was serving. He was serving. And because Jesus said, I will serve with all that I have, because he stayed up, I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to say, comfort. No, I'm going to cling my life to Jesus. I'm going to look to Jesus. I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to walk after Jesus. I'm going to do whatever Jesus asked me to do, because my life is not mine. My life is his. And I will lay my life down and say, God, I will follow you all the days of my life. I will serve if you ask me to serve. I will give if you ask me to give. I will do whatever you want me to do. Just tell me what to do. I'll take a step right now. And for someone in this room, your step is to serve. Your step is to get up on your ladder and to say, I'm going to do this thing. Because the truth is, everyone in this room has a ladder. All of us. And if you're not on your ladder, I have to try to reach your space. I can't do it. I can only reach so far. There's gaps that only you can fill. There's gaps that only you can fill. We don't need another Pastor Mitch. We don't need another Pastor Aaron. We need you. We need you. They're flowing in their gifts. You need to flow in yours. You need to climb up your ladder and say, I'm not coming down. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to take a step. I'm going to take a step, because God never calls us to be comfortable. And just as soon as you get comfortable in what God is calling you to do, he's going to say, can you take another step and serve more? I guess. That's a little uncomfortable to go higher. The last time I checked, God wants to take us from level to level to level to level to level. We do it through following him. We do it through serving. We do it through all of this. There's another verse. It's at the end. Can you guys put it on the screen? I think it's like 1 John. It says this: those who say they live in God. Do you follow God? Do you live in God? Do you trust God? If we do, we should live our life as Jesus did, serving. We should live our life giving. Pastor Aaron, each week of this series has said, whenever we give, it heals something. Can I tell you, serving, it heals our selfishness. So it does. Serving heals our selfishness. It lets us lay our life down and say, God, it's not about me. It's not about the community of thoughts in my brain. It's not about the comfort that I'm clinging to. It's not about that. It's not about the complacency of culture. I'm going to stay up on this ladder. I'm not going down. We're going to wrap up today by giving you an opportunity to do that. When you hear a message like this, what's next? What's next? I think there's a couple people in the room. Maybe you've never served, or you kind of, stepped out of serving, right? if you've not done that, you can sign up to serve today. We're going to have a starting point event very, very soon. And so I encourage you, after we're done, go out there and find someone in a team, and say, I want to serve, right? Find someone. Hey, I want to do this thing. I want to serve, right? And can I tell you, when you walk out there, your heart might be racing. You might be like, I can't do this. I stepped away from serving, or I've never served in my life. Like, I have to commit if I serve. I'm not good at commitment. Take a step. Take a step. And maybe you're in here and you're on the ladder. You might even be serving today, but you're there, but your attitude's there. You're here, but your passion's down there. And if we're not careful, we'll walk out of this message thinking, well, that's for them. Really, it's for all of us. We all have things we can do better. We all have areas we can go higher in. And what I want to encourage you to do is climb back up the ladder, whatever that means. For you, it might be, hey, I want to fix my attitude, back up the ladder. I'm going to serve like I used to, back up the ladder. Serve with more excellence, back up the ladder. And can we just commit as a church right here, right now, that when someone does that, don't give them a backhanded compliment. Don't be like, Steve, so glad you're back, man, you're really slacking off. Don't do that. Don't. Just don't. That makes someone be like, I don't want to be a part of it. Don't do that. Just be like, hey, I'm so glad you're serving with me. I'm so glad you're serving with me. Or maybe you're in here and you feel like serving is just something you love to do. It's something you feel good at. You feel like you're up the ladder. You just want to keep going and going and going. Don't climb alone. Don't do it alone. Find someone who can serve alongside of you. Because the truth is, for some people, serving is easy. For others, it's really scary to take that step. Find someone and tell them, hey, you want to serve? You can serve with me. Hey, let's do this thing together. Serve with them. Because Jesus said, hey, I'm serving for you. I'm doing this thing for you. As we're wrapping up, can we all stand? We're going to worship again and then wrap up this morning. But we're doing a song called Available. And this song simply says, I hear you call. Right? My response is yes, I'm available. Whatever you want me to do. God, whatever you want me to do, here I am. I'm right here. You want me to take a step? Here I am. You want me to get back up on the ladder? Here I am. You want me to move? Here I am. Whatever you want me to do, I'm available. And I want to have a moment where we simply have a time with Jesus, where we reflect on what God is talking to us personally. God, here I am. What do you want me to do? You want me to walk up there? You want me to take a step here? You want me to sign up to serve now? What do you want me to do? Whatever you want me to do, here I am. I'm available. I'm available right now, God. So all over this room, can we just close our eyes and let's lift our hands to heaven. God, thank you so much for this opportunity that we have to serve. God, thank you right here. God, you've picked us. God, you want to build your church through us, through our flaws and through our mistakes, through our imperfections. God, you still pick us. And God, I pray that in this moment is about so much more than just a song as we end. God, it's about a moment of rededication. It's about a moment where we say, God, here I am. I'm available in this moment. God, here I am. I want to take another step. God, show me what to do. If I need to sign up to serve, I'm going to do it. If I need to take a step and fix my attitude, I'm going to do it. If I need to serve more, I'm going to do it. God, whatever you ask me to do, I want to serve like you served. I want to stay where you go. I want to follow you. God, thank you so much for picking us. Thank you so much for choosing us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.